again. Good afternoon again. Today is Friday. We're so excited to be here with everyone that is watching. Teachers, thank you again so much for all that you've been doing for your students and for yourselves. Self-care is important as well during this NTI distance learning. Today, we want to talk to you about how bullying can affect everyone, but you can make a difference. Teachers, you are on the front lines. Even though we're not with the students physically, you're still being able to teach them through your distance learning, through those chats and those Google Meets and Hangouts and those type of things. And so we want to give you some important information about bullying today and some specific things that will target the cyberbullying. All right, so we are the Bullying Prevention Department. I am Crystal Carter. My picture's up on the screen there. I'm going to be presenting, so my face won't show, but my picture is there for you. And then my resource teachers.
Steve Giddings.
And Brittany Nett.
And our clerk is Janet Young, and Janet is the person who takes care of all of our tip line reports, whether they come in via the website or they come in via the phone. And we'll give you that information towards the end of our presentation. So today, we just want to remind you, we do this each time, that we are the Bullying Prevention Department. A lot of people in JCPS don't even know that there is a Bullying Prevention Department. So though we are small, it's the four of us, but we are mighty. We take care of all elementary, middle, and high school. We work directly with the assistant superintendent's offices to make sure that any reports come in, that they go directly to them, and then from there they trickle down into the schools so that the investigation can start and we can get the help to students that is needed. So we provide educational resources and supports to JCPS stakeholders concerning bullying prevention, and we intend to build capacity of the learner, whether that's the adult that we're teaching or talking to, or the students, which we really focus in on the student. But our efforts are to increase awareness about bullying prevention, to reduce bullying behaviors, and also to aid the students that are involved in those bullying situations. And we're going to focus in a little bit more on that later. But those are the people who are harmed by bullying, the person who is displaying that bullying behavior, and also the bystanders, the people that see this bullying behavior go on. And the third pillar of JCPS, we know we have the three pillars, but positive culture and climate, or culture and climate, is one. And we want to increase positive culture and climate. We are actually a part of, or a team in the Culture and Climate Department under Dr. Katie DeFerrari. Shout out to Culture and Climate that's out there. And so one of the things we definitely want to do is increase the positive culture and climate, not only in your classroom teachers, but in your schools and in our district as a whole. And so if you need us, we can come out to observe classroom. We come out to observe specific students to try to pinpoint what may be going on. We can come out to conference with students about situations that are going on. We can come out to help students, build up some strategies for themselves if they are a person harmed by bullying, or if they are a person who may be displaying that bullying behavior. We are also trained in Obeis Bullying Prevention, which is a world-renowned bullying prevention program. And we hope to have some schools be a part of that program with us next year as we get that pushed out. And we just want you guys to know that we are here to support you. Again, we are strong. We're small, but we're mighty. We come out, we're everywhere, all over Jefferson County, elementary, middle, and high school. So in our first few presentations we did over the last few weeks, we're really focusing on what bullying is and what it isn't. So I just want to highlight a few things and move on from there. The main thing we want you to know, teachers, is that bullying is repeated, or it has the potential to be repeated. It is deliberate, and it's purposeful, it's intentional, and it's marked by imbalance of power. And that's something that causes the field not to be even. It's something that could be a physical difference. It's something that could be psychological, or a emotional type of difference, something that's causing an imbalance. The things aren't equal. The playing field is not the same with the students. So those are the three main things that we look for when we're coming out to substantiate a case of bullying. There are 4 types of bullying mainly that we see. And we showed you our newsletter in the last 2 presentations that we did, this month's newsletter that you can find in your NTI folders, teachers, and Brittany will talk about that a little later, is focused on cyberbullying. But physical bullying and verbal bullying, those are things that you see directly in your classrooms when you are with your students. You can see and hear those things. But some of the indirect things that you may not be able to see and hear are the social, emotional, or the relational bullying that has to do with isolation and causing students to feel left out or not being a part of the group. And then also the cyberbullying. And those are things that happen over the electronic devices. And today we're going to show you some links that have tactics and some things that may be happening as far as cyberbullying taking place. I'm going to turn it over to Steve, and he's going to talk about some of the reasons why students may bully.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So we know that there are numerous reasons people are targeted for bullying. One of the main ones that we recognize when we go out to classrooms are it's because of perceived differences, either positive or negative. We know that sometimes we lost our screen.
It's still here.
Okay, I see it now. So we know it's perceived most of the time for either positive or negative. Perceived differences. So some of those differences that we recognize are race, color, national origin, religious beliefs, sex or gender identity, age, disability. And those ones I just mentioned, those are actually protected classes. And students who fall under that class actually have federal protections as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here shortly. But what we ask teachers to look for with students who may be targeted, look out for maybe people who wear glasses or have braces, students who might be larger, maybe obese, students who wear religious attire like hijabs or yarmulkes, burqas, prayer caps, that sort of thing. Any type of physical differences, different styles of clothing, different accents or language difference. We know that these protected classes also, this is when you start getting into harassment. A lot of times we use the word bullying and harassment kind of intertwined, and there is a difference. So they both, there's both an imbalance of power. They both aim to hurt or harm the other person. And it's about power and control. But what makes something harassment is the protected class. And that, again, is the race, religion, sex or gender identity, age, and disability. So moving on to bullying behavior that violates civil or criminal law. And when we go over this slide in classrooms, students sometimes can't believe that these things can actually be against the law. So we talk about physical bullying, which is considered assault, gender bullying or sexual harassment, dating abuse, domestic violence, intimidating for gain or extortion, rumors or lies, which is defamation of character, bullying based on race, national origin, sex, or disability. Again, this is the civil rights violations, and there are federal protections for those. Bullying someone who is disabled, cyberbullying, harassment by communication or stalking, and then sexting or sending inappropriate pictures or text. Then we go into peer conflict or bullying versus bullying. And we describe the difference because a lot of times the line is blurred, especially in elementary and middle, because a lot of times friends, we get in arguments, we have disagreements. Sometimes friends actually fight. So we have to know the difference between peer conflict and bullying. So peer conflict is defined as a disagreement or an argument. There's usually equal power. That means it's two peers, usually around the same age, same size, same popular group. And they generally stop and change the behaviors when they realize someone's been hurt. So if I hurt my friend's feelings, I know usually I'm going to stop and I'm going to apologize and hopefully make things right and move on. But on the other hand, we have the bullying, and it's a lot different. The goal is to hurt, harm, or humiliate. A friend wouldn't do that. There's usually unequal power, and that could be in numbers, groups of people. It could be size. It could be popularity. It could be intellectual. Anything where there's power or perceived power. And then the behavior is continuous, even if someone is hurting. So that's the difference between bullying and peer conflict. Like I said, a lot of times those lines are blurred. So it's good to know that as a teacher. And then moving on to the roles the other students play in bullying situations. If you look at this slide here, the letter A out there is the person who's doing the bullying. And then the person in the middle is H, and that's the person who's being bullied. But if you look at all the rest of the people involved, you had the followers, the supporters, the passive supporters, disengaged onlookers, possible defenders, and then the defenders. But all these people are involved in the bullying situation, even if it's just between the person who's doing the bullying and the person who's being bullied. You have all the other people who are standing and watching or passing by and seeing what's going on. So Oveus has done a study that showed that only 14 to 17% of people may be directly involved with the bullying situation. But 80+% are bystanders, and they see this going on. Also, research has shown that if the situation isn't handled, usually by an adult in the building, and this continues in school, that it does affect the culture and climate of the building. And this is one of the main reasons that we're going to be starting this Oveus. We have started this Oveus program in several Jefferson County schools, and our goal is to roll it out within the next year or two. And we'll talk more about that in the future. But now I'm going to pass it on to Brittany, and she'll go a little bit further in depth on cyberbullying.
Thank you, Steve, and happy Friday, everybody. So we're going to start by just talking about how bullying has changed immensely. We put pictures of a pager, of a phone booth, and a landline just to show what bullying used to be. Because now that technology is so readily available to our students, bullying is everywhere, especially cyberbullying. So back in the day when you were on the phone, your parents at any time could pick up that phone and know exactly who you're talking to or what you were doing on the phone. Whereas our kids now have their own cell phone. They are on different social media outlets, and their parents aren't always able to monitor those, even though we highly encourage that. And especially during NTI, when students are with technology, maybe on their Chromebooks more, a home computer, their cell phones are available 24/7, as they wouldn't be if they were still in school. Cyberbullying is just at their fingertips. And this was just a great way for us to show how it has become so important. And like I said, so readily available to them that it's every day. It could be in a student's face. So that's really important for us to keep in mind as we're going through NTI throughout the summer, and especially when we're back in school as well. So we're going to talk about what students responded when we asked, does bullying happen more often than adults think? So when they were asked, the responses were, yes, so much more than they know. Bullying happens mostly online. It happens secretly. Kids don't tell anyone, and when they do, they just tell part of the story. And in a training we did, it was either last week or the one before, we really talked about how it's so important to open those lines of communication with students and how they have to feel like it's safe to talk to one adult at least. It might be the custodian at your school. It could be the assistant principal. It could be their favorite teacher. Just any trusted adult that they feel that will listen and help them get through bullying is crucial, because we have to have open lines of communications. When we go into schools and we're teaching students about bullying, most of them say, I'm scared to tell. I don't want to be a snitch. I don't want to be in trouble with my friends. So most of them aren't telling because they don't want to look bad in their peer group, as well as they don't want to feel like they're in trouble or causing trouble by an adult, because they feel like if they go to you, then you're going to tell the other students, so-and-so told me that you've been bullying them. So it's really important that you already have that relationship developed before students feel like they're comfortable enough to come and tell you about it. And that's really important, especially during NTI. Students can still email you. Maybe if you're on Google Meet or Google Classroom with them, just let them know that they do have a trusted adult, because even though this is hard for us as adults, it's 100 times harder for our students. And again, with technology readily at their hands, cyberbullying is happening more often than we're all aware of. So that leads us to the NTI support links. When we did our training last week, we shared the different support links, and this is within the NTI toolkit. If you go and click on the bullying icon that we're showing you, you will find teacher support, and within that, you will find a ton of information, documents about bullying, whether it be cyber, physical, all kinds of bullying, ideas, videos, things to know about different social media outlets. And we're going to talk about some really important ones in the next slide, and some different fun things you can do with students during this time as well. So cyberbullying has been our focus during NTI because, like we've all said, technology is everywhere. Students have it readily available. They're on their cell phones more because they're not in class. So within the teacher toolkit, there are some important links that already have activities, resources ready for you to use now. So the first one is cyberbullying tactics. And if you click on this, it's actually a part of stopbullying.gov, but it gives teachers different tactics that students are using to become cyberbullies. So it's good for not only teachers, but you can also share that with parents as well. The next link is suggested age-appropriate apps, and on here they are broke up for learning and fun, so it's not all serious apps, but giving your students choice and parents another option if they need to keep their kids busy. Fun and learning activities for all grades. And then pacer.org, stopbullying.gov, we use these often because the information in here is great. We use these for our presentations. They just have bullying information. They have lessons readily available that you can go through and just pick and choose what you would like to use. So that's really easy, and it's right there at your fingertips. National Online Safety. This is actually a safety training for schools. So if there's any admins on here, this is something you can use for your teachers to work through. For online safety teachers, this is something you could use bits and pieces from to create classroom lessons for your students, even during the NTI time. And then the last two are our past two training videos that we did, in case you missed it, that you can click on and find the information that we went through with teachers on April 17th. And then we also did a parent training video. And then I'm going to show you one last thing about distance learning lessons. If you were to go to the Pacers website and where the red arrow is pointing to, click Classroom. It has grade level specific elementary, middle, and high school classroom lessons. So these are lessons on all types of bullying that are already prepared and nothing that a teacher has to go and create themselves, which is, I think, definitely a bonus right now, because I know teachers are working so hard creating NTI lessons. So if you go there, you're going to find resources. It's nothing you have to follow like day 1, day 2, but just pick and choose some things that you feel like might be helpful for your students. Also good for school counselors to use as needed. And then the last thing, the all in, if you click there are cards already made that go right along with the distance learning series that you can incorporate into morning meetings on NTI. You can have students do nice things to build classroom culture, something you might want to keep in mind for the beginning of next year when hopefully we're back in the classroom. And then there's blank ones, so you could create things. So it might say, for instance, be a good friend to somebody and send them a nice email. So you would let a student pick that out and then they would send that. So it just kind of promotes, again, social emotional positivity, classroom culture, creating and building relationships, which we know is all important for our students, especially right now since we're not physically with them. All right, so I'm going to turn it back to Crystal.
Thank you, Brittany, and thank you, Steve. As we are wrapping up, I wanted to be sure that teachers, that you are informed, that you are empowered, because each school should have a bullying prevention or anti-bullying, it may be called an anti-bullying policy that should be on file with your school through your SBDM, or if you are an AIS school, even though it may be disbanded right now, administration should still be using and following whatever policy that you have. Every state in the United States has a bullying prevention law and policy. And so for the state of Kentucky, we have the KRS statutes, and they have been updated. There are some things with bullying and harassment in there. That's why we made sure we touched on the class piece with Steve about the harassment. But because it is a law, we have to make sure as Jefferson County teachers, as Jefferson County schools, that we have a policy in place at our school and that we are using that policy. We are working by that policy. And so if at your school you haven't heard it, you've never seen it, you don't know anything about it, I urge you, teachers, to be sure that you know what the policy is, that you understand it, and that you admonish your administrators to follow it. If you don't, then below at the bottom it says SBDM policy template. There is the template for you that everyone started out with, but we have urged each school to customize it based the information that you want to use and set up your policy based upon what's happening at your school. Some of the things at one school may be different than another. Things that happen in middle school and high school could be totally different than some of the things that are happening at the elementary level. And so when you're creating your policy and you're putting in the definition, which is going to be the same for everyone, but how to report. Your school may have different ways of reporting. Schools have come up with some great creative ways for anonymous reporting. Teachers have different ways, or counselors have come up with different places and ways that they can report anonymously or openly. And then the important thing in this policy is how the situation is handled. Is this something for the first time? Is this a level 1 or is it a level 2? Do you want to draw out things as to who will handle things? So as you are nearing the end of the year, I know when I was an administrator at McFerrin Elementary School, we had committees and subcommittees, and at the end of each year, each subcommittee was in charge of something. And so for anybody that's out there, you know there is a bullying prevention committee or there are a policy committee, please bring this forth to them. Make sure that they have this information. If you are on the SBDM or one of your fellow teachers is on SBDM, please admonish them, encourage them, empower them with this information so that it can be used in order to prevent bullying at your school, and or when it does happen, that we know how it's handled and it's go through the correct chain of command. That makes a big difference. When students know that there are consequences for action, students know it's visible. They see the policy up. Students are talking about it. Teachers are talking about it. The parents know about it. It's given to them. They may have a sign-off sheet, or they may have something that they're doing during orientation to sign off, or they initial saying that they've seen it, they read it. It makes people accountable. And so when things happen, they can't say, I didn't know. We want to hold people accountable for their actions. I know people make mistakes, but we still want to hold people accountable for the things that they may do to hurt someone. And so again, the policy template is at the bottom. You can click on that link and go directly into a Google Doc that has that. Make a copy of it and you can use it as you wish. All right, so we want to make sure that we give you our information as far as how to report. What you see here is our tip line flyer. You can call this bullying tip line 24/7. Teachers, I admonish you to give this information to families, give this information to your students, empower them, help them to know that they can advocate for themselves. It's not about snitching. It's about being supported in what they're doing. It's about being protected. If something's going on that may be hurting them, whether it's physically or emotionally, we need to be there to support our students. And so we want to give them this information. The information is the phone number here, also the definition of bullying, so they can know specifically those things. The things highlighted in red, again, are those three main things that we're looking for to substantiate. And there's a QR code if they want to click into that to get more information from the website. We also like to show students, and we have, we're not with you, but when we go out to schools, we have our cards that we pass out. And this is another way you can report. You can go onto the JCPS website. Right now, everything says NTI, but on a normal day, the interface is still the same. At the top right or the bottom right of the screen, you see that bully stop sign. It looks like a stop sign with a B in the middle of it. That's our bully button. And so you can click on that, and that will take you to the JCPS hotline for compliance. It's a page. And let me show you what it looks like. When you go into it, you'll see this. And as you can see where the arrow is, bullying harassment is one of the things that can be reported here. But there are several other things that can be reported. Again, like I told you, Janet Young is our clerk. She takes care of all this bullying prevention and harassment information. But internal audit department, which is Jodelle Wren, she is the director. She's awesome to work with. And Shallon Comich, they are awesome people to work with. They cover, investigate all these other things that may be there. So it may not be bullying and harassment, but maybe something else is going on. And their reports come here, and it goes out to the correct department to handle. You want to make sure you click on that green at the bottom left that says begin a new report. Make sure you let your families know. When they get finished and they've answered all the questions and given all the information that's needed, they need to hold on to their access code. It is imperative that they hold on to that access code. The access code is what's going to get them back into that second choice where it says follow up on a report. Sometimes people don't have all the information, or they need to talk to their kid first. And when the kid comes home, the access code is needed to get back into the account. In this place, you can upload pictures, you can upload screenshots, you can upload videos of things. This is where you can put your evidence if you have any of the things that are going on. And so again, teachers, I admonish you to let your families know, let your students know. And even if something's going on with you, we even have teachers that report that things may be going on with another teacher or an administrator. So it's not just for students. The bullying prevention line and the tip line are for everybody in JCPS, right? So I'm going to go to the live chat. I've been keeping up with it. There have been a lot of good comments and things. I don't see any questions. So I do want to say thank you to those that are out there supporting us. We appreciate you. Culture and Climate is definitely in the house. We appreciate our department and our team. I don't see any questions. I'm going to give a second just in case anybody wants to put anything up. And I want to give you our information. If you do have any questions, you can always contact us via email. I'm Crystal Carter. We have Steve Giddings, Brittany Nip, and Janet Young. And so, let's see. Oh, good. Kimberly Lawrence White said that they're pleased to know that the standard's set up to help our early childhood developers as well. So that's good. We definitely want to make sure that we're getting the students that are coming in early ready and set up for what they will need as they grow and matriculate through school in JCPS. All right, so we just want to say thank you.